What happens when one of the biggest names in world basketball witnesses an act of discrimination within the company he himself founded? Steph Curry faced this crucial moment when a secret video reached his hands, revealing a high-ranking executive humiliating a cleaner. His immediate reaction and the consequences that followed show a side of the star that few know, and a leadership lesson that transcends the boundaries of the courts. The morning sun in San Francisco illuminated the modern, glass and steel building that housed the headquarters of SC30 Tech, the sports technology company founded by basketball star Steph Curry. On the 30th floor, Gloria Johnson, a 50-year-old black woman with a gentle smile and hands calloused from hard work, pushed her cleaning cart through the gleaming corridors. Gloria had been working at SC30 for 3 years. A single mother of 3 children, she divided her time between 2 jobs to ensure that her 2 younger children could attend college, just like the oldest, who had recently graduated in engineering. Despite the tiredness, Gloria always kept a smile on her face and a friendly word for each employee. "Good morning, Mr. Peters," she greeted the financial director as she passed him in the hallway. "Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today." That morning, tension hung in the air of the main conference room. Christine Reynolds, a blonde marketing executive newly hired from a large New York company, was coordinating a crucial presentation for new investors. Tall, slim, and always impeccably dressed, Christine was known for her relentless perfectionism and for achieving impressive results, whatever the human cost. "I need everything to be perfect," Christine instructed her team, nervously adjusting the sleeve of her Armani blazer. "Any mistake today will be unacceptable." Gloria entered the room silently, trying not to interrupt, while discreetly cleaning the side tables. Christine gave her an irritated look before turning her attention back to the slides she was reviewing. The meeting started promptly at 9. 12 executives accompanied by potential investors took their places around the long glass table. Gloria waited for the appropriate moment to serve coffee, as she habitually did in important meetings. "As you can see in the charts," Christine gestured confidently, "our growth projection for the next quarter." Gloria moved carefully around the room, serving cups of coffee. When she got close to Christine, her uniform slightly brushed against the chair of one of the investors who was adjusting in his seat. The sudden movement made Gloria momentarily lose her balance. The tray tilted and a cup of coffee spilled, spreading a few drops near important documents on the table. Time seemed to freeze. Christine interrupted her presentation, her face transforming into a mask of fury. "My God, can't you do anything right?" Christine exploded, her voice echoing through the room. "Do you have any idea how important these documents are?" Gloria hurried to clean up the coffee, her face burning with shame. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It was an accident. Accident? It seems like it's hard to find competent people for certain jobs," Christine continued, her tone loaded with contempt. "Maybe if you paid more attention to your work instead of wandering the corridors talking to everyone." The silence in the room was deafening. The executives looked down, uncomfortable, while the investors observed the scene with incredulous expressions. "Next time, maybe we should hire someone who actually knows what they're doing," Christine said, looking Gloria up and down. "Someone who understands the importance of professionalism in this environment. People like you seem not to understand the basics of corporate behavior." The words, "people like you," hung in the air, their implicit meaning belying any pretended innocence. Gloria, with hands trembling slightly, continued cleaning. "Yes, ma'am. It won't happen again." From the corner of the room, Marcus Johnson, a young black intern from the marketing department, watched the scene with growing indignation. Discreetly, He took out his phone and began recording. "Please finish cleaning and leave," Christine ordered, adjusting her blazer and forcing a smile for the investors. "As I was saying before, we were so unfortunately interrupted." Gloria quickly finished cleaning, contained tears shining in her eyes. Keeping her head held high with all the dignity she could gather, she left the room, gently closing the door behind her. Outside, in the empty corridor, Gloria finally allowed a single tear to roll down her face as she firmly held the crucifix she carried around her neck, a gift from her late mother that always gave her strength. Taking a deep breath, she wiped her face and pushed her cleaning cart to the next room. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Marcus Johnson sat restlessly at his small desk in the IIC intern space, staring at the video on his phone for the 20th time. Each replay only intensified his indignation. As a newly hired intern and one of the few black employees in the company, he knew well the feeling of being invisible until making a mistake. But what happened to Gloria surpassed any acceptable limit. "Hey, are you okay?" asked Zoe, another intern who noticed his worried expression. "Yes, no. I don't know," replied Marcus, locking his phone screen. "Just thinking about some things." That night, Marcus could barely sleep. He remembered his first day at SC30 Tech 3 months ago, when he was completely lost in the labyrinth of corridors. Gloria had noticed his discomfort and gently guided him to the right room. "Everyone feels that way at the beginning, dear," she had said with a warm smile. "My oldest son went through the same when he started his first internship. You'll get used to it soon." Since then, Gloria always greeted him by name, asked about his studies, and occasionally left a chocolate bar on his desk when he worked late. "Young brains need energy," she would say with a wink. The memory of that kindness only made the decision harder. Sending the video could put his internship at risk, an opportunity he had fought so hard for. But how could he stay silent? The next morning, Marcus created an anonymous email address and sent the video to the Human Resources Department with a simple message. "This happened yesterday, at the meeting with investors. Is this acceptable in SC30's culture?" For 3 days, nothing happened. No communication, no visible action. Gloria continued working, her smile a little less bright. Christine walked the corridors with the same arrogance as always. On Wednesday, Marcus accidentally overheard a conversation while in the bathroom. "Just deleted the email," said a female voice that he recognized as belonging to Vanessa Miller, the HR director. "Christine and I studied together at Harvard. I know her temperament. She's under a lot of pressure with this new contract." "And the cleaner?" asked another voice. "Frankly, Lisa, people in that position always exaggerate. It was probably just a misunderstanding. Let's not turn this into something bigger than it is." Marcus felt his stomach sink. The system that should protect employees like Gloria was deliberately failing. That night, after everyone left, Marcus made a decision. He searched the corporate directory and found the email of Michael Jang, Steph Curry's personal assistant. Taking a deep breath, he forwarded the video. Michael was finalizing the next day's schedule when the email arrived. Initially, he hesitated to open it. Filtering communications was a crucial part of his job, and Steph trusted his judgment to determine what deserved attention. But something about the subject, urgent, corporate culture at SC30, intrigued him. The video left him disturbed, but not completely surprised. Rumors about Christine's behavior had been circulating since her hiring 3 months ago. Michael searched the HR archives and found something concerning. 3 previous complaints against Christine had been registered and subsequently filed without investigation. All involved low-level employees, mainly people of color. Steph Curry had built SC30 Tech with a vision that went beyond simply creating innovative sports technology. He frequently spoke about building a company where everyone would be treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their position or background. This incident clearly contradicted that vision. The next morning, Michael entered Curry's office, who was reviewing performance statistics for new motion sensors. "Steph, we need to talk about something important," Michael said, closing the door. Curry looked up, immediately noticing his assistant's serious expression. "What happened?" "I received this video from an anonymous employee. I think you need to see it." Michael placed his tablet on the desk. Curry's eyes narrowed as he watched the scene. His face, normally relaxed and smiling, hardened as the video progressed. When it finished, he remained silent for a few moments, hands joined under his chin. "Who is the humiliated employee?" he finally asked. "Gloria Johnson. Works on the cleaning team for 3 years. Single mother, 3 children." Curry nodded slowly, his mind going back to his own origins. He remembered his mother, Sonia Curry, working tirelessly to support the family while managing a Christian school. He remembered the lessons about respect and dignity that she had taught him from an early age. And the executive? Christine Reynolds, hired 3 months ago as marketing director, has achieved all targets, but... Michael hesitated. "But?" "I discovered that there are 3 other complaints against her in the HR files, all filed without investigation by Director Vanessa Miller." Curry stood up abruptly, a rare expression of anger crossing his face. "Schedule a meeting with the entire board for an hour from now. Don't say why. And Michael..." "Yes?" "Make sure Christine is present, and find Gloria too. I want to talk to her afterward." As Michael left to execute the instructions, Curry remained by the window, looking out at San Francisco Bay. SC30 Tech was more than a business for him. It was a legacy, an extension of his values. Seeing this type of behavior in his own company struck him deeply. He picked up the phone and dialed a familiar number. "Mom, I have a situation here. I need some advice." The main conference room at SC30 Tech was silent, as board members arrived one by one. No one knew exactly the reason for the emergency call, but Michael's serious expression, who remained at the door, suggested it wouldn't be an ordinary meeting. Christine Reynolds entered confidently, wearing an elegant gray suit, her blonde hair perfectly arranged. She smiled at some colleagues, completely unaware of the real reason for the meeting. "Does anyone know what's going on?" she whispered to Vanessa Miller, the HR director, who discreetly shrugged. At 11 o'clock sharp, Steph Curry entered the room. Unlike his usual relaxed behavior, his face was serious, almost grave. Everyone immediately noticed the change. "Good morning, everyone," Curry began, his voice calm but firm. "I called this meeting because something very serious was brought to my attention." He signaled to Michael, who closed the blinds and turned on the projector. Without any additional introduction, the video began playing on the big screen. The silence in the room became dense, almost suffocating, as everyone watched the scene of Christine humiliating Gloria. Some directors shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Others looked down. Christine remained motionless, her face initially confused, then slightly pale. When the video ended, Curry remained silent for a few seconds, letting the impact of the scene linger in the air. "This happened in this very room 4 days ago," he finally said, his voice controlled, but with an intensity that no one there had witnessed before. "In a company that I founded. In a company that should reflect values of respect, dignity, and equality." Christine straightened in her chair. "Steph, I can explain—" "Please do," Curry interrupted her, crossing his arms. "I'm very interested to hear your explanation." Christine adjusted her blazer, quickly recomposing her confidence. "Obviously, the video caught a moment out of context. We were in a crucial meeting with investors who could determine the future of the company. The employee was careless and almost compromised important documents." She looked around, seeking support. "Any executive in this room understands the pressure we feel in these moments. My reaction may have been a bit intense, but I was just trying to maintain the professionalism that SC30 tech requires." "Professionalism," Curry repeated the word slowly, as if examining it. "Do you consider it professional to publicly humiliate an employee? Use terms like people like you?" Christine frowned slightly. "Steph, that comment had no racial connotation, if that's what you're implying. I was referring to people who don't understand the corporate environment." Curry turned to Vanessa Miller. "Vanessa, I'd like to know why 3 previous complaints about similar behavior were filed without investigation." Vanessa's face paled. We considered they were isolated incidents. Issues of leadership style, not inappropriate conduct." "Leadership style," Curry repeated, again with that same deliberate cadence. "Is ignoring complaints about discriminatory behavior part of this company's HR protocol?" Vanessa swallowed hard. "No, of course not." "And yet," Curry continued, "my assistant found 3 formal complaints against Ms. Reynolds in the last 3 months, all involving condescending or abusive behavior directed at lower-ranking employees, predominantly people of color. All filed without proper investigation." Christine changed her strategy. "Steph, evidently there has been a misunderstanding. Perhaps I was excessively harsh with the employee, and for that, I apologize. I was under enormous pressure with the Henderson project deadline and the presentation to investors." She forced a conciliatory smile. "We can resolve this with a cultural sensitivity course, perhaps. I believe all of us here can sometimes improve our communication." Curry observed her for a moment, his penetrating gaze. "Christine, do you really believe that the problem here is just communication?" "Well," Christine replied, her tone now condescending, "you have to understand that certain positions require a certain tact. These types of people are often very sensitive when receiving any kind of feedback." "These types of people," Curry repeated, his voice now visibly containing anger. "Stop right there." He stood up, placing his hands on the table. "Let me tell you something about these types of people. My mother worked as a cleaner to help pay our bills while managing a Christian school. She cleaned floors, bathrooms, offices. And you know what she taught me? That all work has dignity, that each person deserves respect, regardless of what they do to earn a living." The silence in the room was absolute. Curry rarely spoke about his personal life in corporate settings. Gloria Johnson works 2 jobs to pay for her children's college. She arrives here at 5 in the morning every day and, from what I've heard, has never missed a day of work in 3 years. And even after being publicly humiliated, she came back the next day because she can't afford to lose this job. Christine opened her mouth to speak, but Curry raised his hand, silencing her. "When I founded this company, I had a clear vision. It wasn't just about creating innovative sports technology. It was about building a place where everyone, from the janitor to the CEO, would be treated with the same respect and dignity, where success would never come at the cost of anyone's humanity." He turned to face each board member. "What I saw in that video doesn't represent that, and the fact that similar behaviors were repeatedly ignored makes me question what kind of culture we're really building here. Christine, realizing the gravity of the situation, made a last attempt. Steph, I think we're exaggerating the situation. It was a momentary mistake that— It wasn't momentary, Curry interrupted her, his voice thundering through the room. The 3 previous complaints prove it. And your comment about these types of people a few minutes ago proves it wasn't an isolated lapse, but a pattern of thinking. He straightened his shoulders and looked directly at Christine and Vanessa. This company has clear values: respect, equality, dignity. They are not slogans for our website. They are principles by which we live. And whoever cannot honor them has no place at SC30 Tech. Sepulchral silence took over the room. The tension was palpable as Steph Curry remained standing, his firm gaze directed alternately at Christine and Vanessa. Christine Reynolds, your contract with SC30 Tech is terminated. Effective immediately, Curry announced with a finality that left no room for discussion. Vanessa Miller, considering your role in deliberately ignoring complaints of discriminatory behavior, your position as HR director is also terminated. Christine turned pale. You can't be serious. Our marketing numbers— The numbers don't matter when the cost is our character, Curry interrupted her. Michael will accompany you to your offices to collect your personal belongings. Security will be present. The 2 women remained momentarily paralyzed, as if they couldn't believe what had just happened. Finally, Vanessa stood up first, followed by Christine, who left the room with her face contorted in a mixture of shock and indignation. Curry looked at the remaining directors, their faces reflecting a mixture of surprise and apprehension. This is not the end of the conversation, he continued. It's just the beginning. I've ordered a complete audit of our corporate culture, HR policies, and hiring practices. If this type of behavior was ignored and allowed, we need to understand how and why. James Chen, the CFO, cleared his throat. Steph, I agree that the behavior was unacceptable. But don't you think firing 2 high-level executives is a bit extreme? Curry slowly shook his head. James, let me ask you something. If Christine had treated one of our investors that way, would we be having this conversation? Or would the decision to fire her be obvious? James fell silent, the answer evident. The problem isn't just what Christine did, Curry continued. It's the fact that our corporate structure, our policies, our culture allowed it to happen. Repeatedly. And that ends today. He headed for the door. The meeting is adjourned. Marcus, Wilson from the marketing department will temporarily assume Christine's responsibilities. As for the HR position, an announcement will be made soon. 30 minutes later, Curry walked through the corridors of the lower floor, where the cleaning team had their small break room. He knocked gently on the half-open door. Gloria Johnson was sitting alone, eating a simple sandwich. She looked up, surprised, and immediately stood when she recognized the company's founder. Mr. Curry, I didn't expect— Can I help you with something? Curry smiled gently. Actually, I'd like to talk to you, Ms. Johnson. Can we sit? Confused, Gloria nodded, returning hesitantly to her chair as Curry pulled another to sit across from her. Ms. Johnson, first I want to personally apologize for what happened in the conference room a few days ago. Gloria's eyes widened. You knew about that? Yes, and I just took measures to ensure it never happens again. Christine Reynolds no longer works at SC30 Tech. Gloria covered her mouth with her hand. But she was the marketing director. Because of me? No, Ms. Johnson. Because of her. Because of her actions and her character. Curry paused. When my mother was raising me, she worked as a cleaner to help with the bills. She taught me that dignity doesn't come from what you do, but from how you treat others. What happened to you goes against everything I personally believe and everything this company should represent." Gloria lowered her gaze, moved. "Thank you very much, Mr. Curry." "Steph, please," he smiled. "And actually, I came here for another reason too. We're creating a new diversity and inclusion team in the company to review our practices and policies. And I'd like to invite you to be part of that team." Gloria looked at him, incredulous. "Me? But I don't have training in any of that. I'm just—" She stopped, correcting herself. "I'm a cleaner." "You are much more than that," Curry replied. "You are someone that many employees respect and admire. Someone with life experience and perspectives that we desperately need. The position would come with a significant salary increase, of course, and we could work with your schedule to accommodate your other job if you decide to keep it." Tears shone in Gloria's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it," Curry suggested gently. "It's a big change. Talk to your children, and give me your answer when you're ready." Gloria wiped away a tear and extended her hand, which Curry shook firmly. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Steph. I'll think about it with care." 3 months later, SC30 Tech looked like a transformed company. The new Diversity and Inclusion Department, now led by Gloria Johnson, who had accepted the position after much encouragement from her children, implemented training and mentoring programs that quickly became a model for the industry. On a sunny day, Gloria was conducting a meeting with her team when a gentle knock sounded on the open door. Marcus Johnson, now Associate Marketing Manager, entered with a smile. "Sorry to interrupt, Gloria, but Steph asked me to bring these projections for the next program." Gloria smiled warmly. "Thank you, Marcus. How's the new position going?" "Surprisingly well," he replied, placing the documents on the table. "Who would have thought that scared intern kid would end up here?" After the meeting ended, Gloria caught Marcus in the hallway. "You know," she said, "I never had the opportunity to properly thank the person who recorded that video and had the courage to send it." Marcus stopped, surprised. How did you know?" Gloria smiled. "I have 3 children. We develop a 6th sense." She gently squeezed his arm. "What you did required a lot of courage. You risked your career to defend someone that most didn't even notice." Marcus lowered his gaze, moved. "I did what my mother would have expected of me." Later that afternoon, Steph Curry took the EBD stage in the company's atrium. Hundreds of employees gathered for the official launch of SC30 Tech's new diversity and corporate culture initiative. 3 months ago, Curry began, we faced a critical moment in this company. A moment that forced us to look in the mirror and ask, who are we really? What values do we really live, not just proclaim? He paused, looking at the diverse crowd of attentive faces. That day, I realized that it's not enough to talk about respect, equality, and dignity. We have to actively confront discrimination, prejudice, and disrespect wherever they appear, especially when it's uncomfortable to do so. Curry gestured toward Gloria, seated in the front row. People like Gloria Johnson show us the true meaning of dignity and strength. And people like Marcus Johnson, he pointed to the young executive, show us the meaning of moral courage. A murmur ran through the crowd as many looked with surprise at Marcus, finally discovering the identity of the UDRF anonymous whistleblower. Racism and discrimination are not just human resources problems. They are moral challenges that each of us must face every day, in every interaction, in every decision. We cannot build a truly innovative company if we leave behind the talent, perspective, and potential of anyone because of their skin color, their background, or their position in the corporate hierarchy. Curry came down from the stage and approached Gloria and Marcus, placing a hand on each one's shoulder. At SC30 Tech, every voice matters. Every contribution has value. And every person, from the CEO to the cleaning staff, deserves to be treated with the same respect and dignity. As the crowd applauded, Gloria could not contain her tears. She thought of her late mother, who had worked as a domestic worker all her life and never experienced this kind of recognition. She thought of her children, now proud of her new position. And she thought of all the invisible people who, like her, worked behind the scenes of corporate America. For the first time, she truly felt that she was being seen.